Good morning. What are the requirements for a work permit application in Thailand? First thing first, what is a work permit? A work permit is a legal document that allows you to work in Thailand. You can call it a license, an operational license that gives you the power to live and work in the kingdom. There are three steps that you have to consider in order to apply for the work permit. Pre-application, application, and post-application. For pre-application, what have you got to do? As an employee, in this case, I'm looking at an English teacher in the kingdom. You have to be able to secure a visa. To work as a teacher in Thailand, you need a non-immigrant B visa, and you can apply for this visa in any of the Thai embassies abroad. So let us assume that you have your non-immigrant B visa, you're in Thailand. The next thing is you've got a job. What have you got to do in order to prepare for these steps? You think of your personal documents. You need copies of your passport and of course the original passport as well. You need a medical certificate. You have to go to a hospital to do a syphilis test. And sometimes, depending on nationalities, like myself from Africa, you might be required to do other tests like yellow fever tests. The next thing you need is your home address. If you are living in a rented apartment, make sure that you know the address of this place. And you need passport size photographs, usually 2 inches. And again, you need the work permit fee, which is 3,100 Thai baht. Once you get these documents ready, you hand it over to your employer alongside your qualification. Let me emphasize on that. Although there are some teachers that work under language centers without official qualification, but then if it's direct employment in a school, you need to make sure you have copies of your qualification, in this case degree. Once this is ready, you are done with your part as the employee. The next step is with your employer, in this case the school. They have a whole list of documents that they have to compile, and for you to quickly check and make sure they are doing the right things, the documents that the school has to provide is 1. Map of the school. The map shows the exact location of the school. Make sure the school is able maybe to sketch down the location on an A4 paper, or if the location is available on the web, they can print it out. The next, the director of the school has to provide photocopies of his Thai ID card. And again, they have to prepare an original copy of your contract. The school equally has to write an official letter which is addressed to the labor office stating your role of employment and the salary which they are paying you. The school has to also provide a copy of the operation license, because there are some clandestine schools in Thailand. So the work permit office will need to see this to make sure that the school is operated legally. The school also has to provide a list of shareholders. If it's a private school, the names of all the shareholders has to be provided. And finally, the school has to provide a document of registration of VAT, that is tax, to prove that they have been paying taxation. So I strongly believe these are the documents that the school has to provide, unless there is an update. So this is the first step, which is pre-application. When all these documents have been compiled, the next step is for you to go over to the labor office and apply for the work permit. If you are lucky, your employer may go with you. Most of the schools have a designated worker who is responsible for work permit application. So normally this individual will go with you to the labor office. Otherwise, they will hand over the documents to you and you go there by yourself. Once you get to the labor office, get a queue. Wait until it's your turn. When your queue number is being called, you move over to the counter, hand in their documents. The officer in charge will read through. If there are any more requirements, they will let you know and they will tell you to contact your schools. If not, then it's good. They will accept your application and you pay their 3,100 Thai baht. which is the application fee. For me here in Chiang Rai, I'm living in Chiang Rai, I paid 100 on the first day of application, and after 2 days I went there to pick up my work permit. I paid the 3,000 Thai baht. And make sure you have a mobile banking application, because right now they do not accept cash. You have to transfer to a designated bank account in any of the banks in Thailand. They will provide a QR code for you to do this. So once you've paid for it, that is it. You sit and wait. If you're lucky, 3 days like myself. If not, 1 week. In a worst case scenario, let's say your documents are not complete, then you are looking at 2 weeks here. So that is the application process. So when you've gotten the work permit, what is the next step? Post application. It's a good thing you have the work permit now. You're boasting around with a blue book. The first thing you have to understand is that this work permit belongs to you. You paid for it. I've had cases where schools tend to keep these documents. It's wrong. What you have to do is to make a copy of the work permit and hand it over to your employer. You keep the original copy with you alongside your passport. You need this because if you travel around and there is a check, maybe from any of the government officials or police, immigration, you are able to show this, which proves that you are legally working in the kingdom. So make sure you always have the original copy with you. If your school insists to keep it, then you might want to ask for an explanation as to why they are doing that. Once you have the work permit, you shouldn't just go home and dump it somewhere. No. Many of you guys make the mistakes of traveling around without your passport. I guess if you're doing that, you might be tempted to leave your work permit at home. If you're within the city, it's okay to move around without these documents as long as you have photocopy or a picture of these documents in your mobile phones or tablet. But if you're traveling out of your city, your province, make sure you have this. So always carry along your work permit, especially if you're going to work, because you can never tell when these government officials will step into schools to check. So make sure you have it. If they check you and you do not have your work permit with you, you are liable to a fine of 500 to 1,000 Thai baht. So take note of this. Yeah, that's right. 500 to 1,000 Thai baht. Yeah, so take note of that. I'm thinking big. Yeah, liable for the fine of 500 to 1,000 Thai baht. So think of that. You wouldn't want to pay 500 or 1,000 baht because that's a huge sum to cater for your food along the week. And next, if you happen to destroy your work permit, let's say you went out drinking and you're sober, maybe it eventually falls in water, go to your labor office within 15 days to apply for a new work permit. If it's a missing work permit, do the same. Go to the labor office to apply for it. Another situation, if you leave your job, make sure you return the work permit to the labor office within 7 days. You cannot move jobs and maybe relocate to another city without returning the work permit at your area of work. You have to do that. And again, if you update your personal information, in a case where you renew your passport and you happen to change your name, or maybe your name was spelled wrongly in your previous passport, make sure you go back to the labor office to report these changes, and the necessary changes will be made in your work permit. Possibly they might print out a new copy for you. So make sure you do all these things after obtaining your work permit. So that is it. As simple as that. With the work permit, you're free to work around. I've just been informed that right now, your work permit is not only limited to your area of work. You're free to work within the country, which is quite good. And in my previous video, I spoke about the advantages of having a Thai work permit. If you haven't watched that, check my page and you'll see the video there. Thanks for watching. See you next time. I love you all. Bye.